Hi there. So this is some tips and tricks for working at home and staying comfortable and preventing lower back pain, things like that. I'm Dr. Chris Moore. I'm the program leader for biomedical science. I'm also the module leader for human anatomy and physiology at level 1 and pathophysiology at level 3. Now, I've been working at home since March 2020 when the first lockdown started. I've had my eldest child, my daughter who's 7, home virtually all the time since then, with the exception of September to December during terms 1 and 2. She's now back home being homeschooled with me. Our youngest is in nursery and my wife is a frontline NHS worker. So we are very much in that environment of having to balance full-time work with homeschooling, childcare, and ever-changing responsibilities in the NHS. So I get that a lot of students are having to spend a lot of time in front of screens at the moment, sat in one place, and I just thought it would be useful to provide some tips and tricks for how I've been coping with this very different world at the moment. So the first thing is a fixed workspace. Now, I'm very lucky. I'm in my study up here. I'm very lucky I have that space, and it does enormously help in having somewhere that you go to study. A lot of people, staff and students alike, are working in back bedrooms, dining room tables. A colleague of mine was having to work in one of his daughter's bedrooms because it was the only space that was sort of unoccupied during the day where they could concentrate. Very different for everyone, but having somewhere where you always go and that is largely set up. It's endlessly frustrating for my wife, particularly when she has to do some work from home between visits, that she has to set up her sort of desk space on the dining table and then disassemble it later on. So it is really useful to have a fixed space. Doesn't have to be a study, just a corner of a room. It really helps maintain that mentality of this is where I work, this is not where I live as such. When I finish work around 5:30 each day and I go downstairs, that's it. I don't come back up to the study for any reason. I don't return to my workspace. That disconnect really helps with preventing build-up of stress and general mental well-being. So I do strongly encourage you to develop a kind of a work habit. And I'm having to work around homeschooling, as I mentioned, and being at home, but I'm still maintaining that balance of work and home, dad and husband, senior lecturer. Okay, so that's very useful as well. Personalizing your space. That's a really important thing for me. You can see I've obviously decorated my study to make it mine, and that's really helpful as well. So if you are in student accommodation, do make it something where you have notes pinned to the wall or textbooks nearby, but also things that make it a personable space for you, family photos, etc. That really helps with not becoming too embedded in the work environment, because a balance is key. In terms of connectivity, strongly recommend that you get as close to the router as possible. If you're in a shared house, you've got flatmates, roommates, housemates, do come to some kind of arrangement with Wi-Fi so that they are not watching Netflix and streaming during scheduled teaching activities, so that the bandwidth isn't dominated. If at all possible, get as close to the router as possible. If you're in student accommodation on campus, then you have Ethernet ports or sockets in all of the rooms. £5 on an Ethernet cable from Amazon, or pop down to the front desk and inquire about getting one provided by the university. They should be able to help there. Then you're hardwired. You don't need to worry about Wi-Fi or dongles or data or anything like that. Because the student accommodation Wi-Fi is not as good as the EduRoam teaching campus buildings Wi-Fi that we have. So it's something to bear in mind there. If you are at home at your parents' house, whatever, do try and get as close to the router as possible, or do what I've done. I'm 2 floors up and I have run a direct burial Ethernet cable category 7 outside of my house, up the outside of the house and in through the window just here, so that I am hardwired into the broadband and I've got the best connectivity possible in our house from the router. That massively helps as well. You don't want your student experience to be suffering any more so than it maybe already is being at home by having things cut out or not having things work. Now on to digital. So thinking about digital, because it is a very different environment at the moment, I do strongly encourage you to make sure that you have functioning microphones and webcams. You want to engage and interact as much as possible. I do have lots of students that say, oh, sorry, my microphone's not working, I'll have to put it in the chat. It breaks things up, it ruins the flow, it slows things down, and it makes you feel more disconnected from your peers. So you can see here that I've got probably a different mic to that which you've seen in other stuff. This is a condenser mic. I bought it out of my own money because no matter how good your speakers are, if the audio going into the staff member's computer, into the teaching session, is not good quality, that which comes out can't be any better quality. So I decided to forego, I think it was around June, July last year, to forego the headset mics that you often see staff with, or the built-in mics in the webcams or in our laptops, and buy a condenser mic. Now, it's always in shot, but it is much better quality audio, and I really do prefer it. It was only £50 on Amazon, and it has a boom arm and a pop filter. I'll just show you that here, and apologies if the camera loses it. So there we go, pop filter and a boom arm. It clamps to the desk. It is much better quality. I have also upgraded my webcam. This isn't something that I strongly encourage students to do. The ones that are built in are fine, provided they're functional. You want to be able to turn on your screens and have a face-to-face personal interaction. I upgraded mine to a 2K HD webcam simply because I didn't want the video quality to be going in to be poor quality as well. It's important that the students can see us and react to us. So I've upgraded that, and again, that was only £15. That was out of my own money. That was relatively cheap as well. So do shop around for bargains, but I find it really does help me with my work and with that connection. My desk. Now, my desk is very simple. It was from IKEA. The desktop was £10. Each of the legs were £4. I bought it when we moved into the house, so I didn't buy it for lockdown. It's not a large footprint, but I just wanted something that fit into the space that I had and looked nice for me. But that was very cheap as well. So again, do look around. Don't fall afoul of buying, build them yourself kits where some assembly required. Here's a desk organization system. They're often too expensive and bulky and lots of things you don't need. This is just a tabletop and legs, nice and simple. The chair that I'm in is I bought it in 2008 from Staples for £50. It's not special. It doesn't have lumbar support or anything like that. It just turns and has wheels, and it has a degree of tilt. That's all it has. I'm not suffering from any back problems. I am terrible at getting up from my desk. I don't do it every hour like I should. I used to run to and from work every day. I'm massively out of practice, but I have not developed any lower back pains, and that's really important as well. The reason I mention the chair and the lack of back problems, but how simple it is the wheels and spin actually is surprisingly useful. That need to fidget, so to turn anything, to move around the room in meetings, to adjust every time you move and you straighten up in your seat, the chair moves a bit, and it just gives your legs a little bit of mobility. That said, you've got to get up every hour and get your steps in. Do get a fitness watch or any kind of step tracker, something, or a timer. If you've got an Echo and Alexa, set reminders to get you to stand up every hour and walk around. That is really, really important. I think that's all I really have on tips and tricks and things. So fix space, personalize it. It doesn't cost a lot of money to have good quality kit. Do shop around, look for bargains. Connectivity important, get near the router, take breaks. And I also sometimes recommend a wheat bag because if you put that in your lower back at the base of your chair, that can help prevent long-term back problems as well. And I think that's all I've got. I hope you found that useful. I hope you are comfortable, and do think about lighting as well. Just one final thing. Obviously, I have a window here in good light during the day. During the winter months, when you have the normal yellow light bulbs, it can become quite dingy, and that's not good for screen glare, concentration, and headaches. I've therefore got a warm white LED light bulb, which massively helps as the murkiness sets in. But as I said, disconnecting and leaving work at an appropriate time and not returning also helps with de-stressing and mental well-being. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.